Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Knicks Film School Postgame Show. No, I am not Jonathan Macri. It's your boy, GMAC, also known as Andrew Claudio, on my birth certificate, filling in for the Mac Man on Valentine's Day. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to all the couples out there, all the single people out there, too. You know, you're probably going through a season right now where you're dating the Knicks or just figuring yourself out. Believe me, the Knicks could probably use somebody to keep them warm at night right now, as injured as they are. So happy Valentine's Day to all the couples out there. I'll say that. And of course, my wife, who we were celebrating on Friday, and she had to endure me watching this basketball game tonight. But so I'll just get that out the way now. To those of you that are tuning in on what is supposed to be a holiday, I appreciate you doing so. This is also the first game, the last game, I should say, before the Knicks head into the All-Star break. And my God, did they need this All-Star break badly. 118-100 is the final down in Orlando, MSG Disney, as I'll call it. The Knicks are fifth in the Eastern Conference. You could say they've fallen to fifth. It feels like it was just 2 weeks ago that they were a half game out of the 2 seed. And it's because it was just 2 weeks ago that they were a half game out of the 2 seed. They've lost 5 of 6, and it would seem as if this would be a bit of a venting session. And you wonder if the deadline moves were failures and if the sky is falling. Let's start here. I need everybody to follow my lead here, okay? Because I will take you through this therapy session. Let's start here. Inhale, exhale, and then just repeat doing that. There are a lot of basketball players that have been in the Knicks rotation for the last 2 weeks, we'll say, that will not be in the rotation when things matter. Jericho Sims, love you. Great depth piece, a great third center. You see how far away the rim protection goes when he's your starting center, or just really the majority of the time center. Deuce McBride, I actually have liked his minutes here and there. I think he's a depth piece too. He's a good 10th man, and a guy that can step up in a pinch. Maybe even at times your 9th man, depending on who's there to play. I liken him to the Frank Ntilikina role. Just he has more offensive ability than Ntilikina. Probably won't be in this rotation come playoff time. I will say the Precious Achiuwa conversation is getting interesting because he has just continued to look outstanding over the last 2 weeks, really since he's been asked to play 40 plus minutes a game. But we'll see how that develops. And then Taj Gibson played 9 minutes tonight, has played a lot of minutes since signing another 10-day with the Knicks. I think he's the Udonis Haslem. And if you'll note how very few minutes the Heat used to play Udonis Haslem, and anytime the Knicks would play the Heat and he found minutes just because the Heat were injured, I just look at the jump shot and see like bunnies that he was coming up short on, and just you'd recognize, oh, this is what a 15th man that's more of a veteran presence and to establish culture looks like. So all of these different guys, Jacob Toppin, I hope we could put the Westchester box scores to bed and being like, why don't you play him? That's not an NBA player yet. Okay. Taj Gibson's not an NBA player anymore. Jacob Toppin's not an NBA player yet. And all of that being said, the Knicks are still the 5 seed. If I told you before this season that the Knicks would be 33-22 going into the All-Star break, the 5 seed with and especially if I told you all the injuries they were going to sustain. Now, I would have to be a crazy fortune teller to also add, oh yeah, and they traded RJ and Quentin Grimes and quickly for OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks, right? Obviously, there's some context missing here, but they're not in the worst place possible. They need to get their guys back. We have 8 days where all they're going to do is rest. Anybody that's been worried about minutes, worried about Tibbs injuring your favorite player, or just worried about injuring a player on the team, or just, how about this, playing basketball and them catching injuries, you got 8 days where you don't have to worry about that. They're not going to play another game until Thursday. Your biggest worry is Jalen Brunson getting hurt in the All-Star game, which I don't think that's a big worry. That's a scrimmage, or the 3-point contest. Again, these are festivities we're talking about. We should look at, as the whole, The Knicks are 5 games back, have a somewhat of a mid-easy schedule. They do have some tough games. They do have 3 games with Detroit the rest of the year, 2 of which are at the Garden. They have some games against Philly, all of which will probably be without Joel Embiid. And I'm expecting Bogdanovich to be back after the break. I'm expecting Hartenstein to be back after the break. I'm expecting DiVincenzo to be back after the break. I think if they have all 3 of those guys back, I think they win both games this week. And on the other side of the break, I think they beat Philly if they get all 3 of those guys back on the other side of the break. So, again, this has been a frustrating week. These last 6 games have been equally as frustrating. If you want my thoughts on this game, I'll give you 2 positives and 2 negatives. We'll start with Jalen Brunson just being awesome. That first quarter, I was wondering if we were headed for some history. Finishes the game. He had 20 points in the first quarter, finishes the game with 33 points on 21 shots. And it's really funny because I was wondering what Tibbs was going to do in the second quarter. I was almost worried that, he's going to play him 48 minutes because he doesn't have enough offensive punch. And then he puts in the Alec Burks, Deuce McBride backcourt for the second quarter. The problem is it also coincided with Jacob Toppin and Taj Gibson in the game as well. And like I said, we're talking about a guy who's not an NBA player yet and a guy that isn't an NBA player anymore. The Magic went on a 17-0 run to completely erase a 12-point lead that the Knicks have built. And Brunson came back in 4 minutes into the second quarter. And then Paolo Banchero just... It's funny. I've joined in the impact metric crowd about how Paolo's not deserving of being an all-star, and he made me look silly tonight. That looked like an all-star. There's a jersey over my right shoulder with the number 7 and the name Anthony on it. That was Melo reminiscent. The fact my favorite Melo game, I think, is the 50-point game he had in Miami, where he didn't take any free throws and it was all jump shots. Paolo Banchero tonight, 36 points, 15 of 20, and 6 of 10 from 3 to go along with 7 rebounds and 5 assists. That looked like an all-star to me. So I'll gladly eat some crow. But Brunson at least brought his end of the bargain in looking like an all-star tonight. And then again, this Precious Achiuwa performances that we're seeing. Benji's Knicks film thread today was all about Precious and how some of his limitations on offense clearly show his inability to really make you pay on defense as a 3-point shooter and as a spacer. Teams are just leaving him alone, which really crowds the paint. However, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 10 of them offensive, and 5 assists tonight. I'm curious to see what they do on the other side of the break. I know they're not going to have Mitch back anytime soon. Precious would be my backup 5. I've kind of liked him at the 4, though. I wonder what happens when... I'm curious to see what happens. He's clearly still in the rotation for the foreseeable future as either the backup 5 or, maybe he plays some minutes at the 4 while they're still getting healthy in the backup unit. So, but good job by Precious Achiuwa tonight. Played 43 minutes. He's just playing 40 minutes consistently. It's actually insane. The 2 negatives. So let's talk about Alec Burks. Since rejoining the Knicks, a move I was in favor of, a move I still think is going to work out long term, he has not looked great. And shout out to Nikias Duncan of the Dunker Spot, who went on Fred Katz's pod this week, Katz and Shoot. I wonder if you've heard of it, if you've watched our content or listened to our content lately. And he described Alec Burks' first couple games with the Knicks as, y'all know why I'm here. And he's very much, he understands the assignment. He knows I'm here to get buckets. I have a green light. He shot 5 of 16 tonight, 2 of 6 from 3 for 13 points. He did not have a good game. I am not in favor of 30 starting minutes for Alec Burks. I don't think he's going to play 30 starting minutes. I'm in favor of him in the right rotation when Anunoby's back, when Josh Hart is back, when Boyan is back, and when Brunson is back. Like, there are lineups where they can prioritize shooting and don't have to concede the defense so much when that will feature Alec Burks. In these first 3 games has just not been a great sample so far. I think we need to give it more than 3 games for sure, but I'd like to see what he looks like when he has any hint of rim protection behind him, because I do think he's looked pretty poor on defense. I would like to see what it looks like in offense, where he has some dependable pick and roll partners as well. Because there will be games where it's like, oh my gosh, Alec Burks had 27 points off the bench tonight. Where did that happen? But he was pretty bad tonight. And the other negative, it's funny, I thought Josh Hart's defense was average, but it was also like the bad was really bad. Like there were some closeouts that he missed. I think the way the Knicks guarded Paolo tonight, he was hitting everything, so it's tough. I thought they went under screens a little too often. I also think Paolo was making them pay on the dribble, because it was just get by the first line of defense, and the lane is wide open because the Knicks didn't have a true rim protector in the game, or at least one that needs to retire. There's no real takeaways you can have from this game, to be completely honest. And I'm sure there are people upset in the super chats. I'm positive, and I'm here to be your venting sesh. Okay, get out whatever, for any frustrations you want, fire whoever you want, trade whoever you want, bench whoever you want. I'm here to hear it all. I would just ask that you recognize the team's still 33-22. Every national pundit thinks highly of the healthy version of this team. You know, a guy we all respect, Zach Lowe, said, I expect the Knicks to still be in the race for the 2 or 3 seed, and they're the team that I think will give Boston the best fight. Brian Windhorst echoed the same sentiment. Bill Simmons echoed the same sentiment. A lot of people that we trust in this industry that follow X's and O's and pay attention to the narratives are like, the healthy version of this Knicks team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And the infamous line about a team that I never know if it's a compliment or not, it's nobody wants to play this team. Well, I mean, look, this version of the team, I'm sure you want to play them. They had like 4 NBA players on the team tonight. But I would ask you to exercise some patience. Okay? We've waited a long time for a team with the potential ceiling like this. And like I said, for those who turned to the pregame pod today, the guy who joined me, Dante Marchitelli, who works for Bally Sports Florida, he said, if you missed it, I'm just really excited about what the ceiling is of your basketball team. And I was like, I'd love to eventually see what that team looks like, that fun version that everybody keeps describing. I think we just have to wait a little longer. Thankfully, we have 8 days where nobody's going to get any overuse. No one's going to play more than 40 minutes. Nobody's going to run into Jaime Jaquez Jr. and a dirty shot attempt. Nobody's bone spurs are going to develop in their elbow. Okay. Nobody's going to trip over someone and re-injure their Achilles. Everybody's just going to rest, hopefully. Okay. I'm sure the tickets to Cancun are already being booked for a lot of these guys, or Aruba, or wherever. Okay. And I hope all of you, because I know I definitely need it, take a much needed break. If you want, I'll go through. If you want to send in super chats that are about recommendations for break, you can. I got movie recommendations for you. I got TV recommendations for you. Baseball started today, kind of. Pitchers and catchers reported. But I would ask that, as frustrated as we are with losing 5 of 6, we keep it somewhat big picture about this team. There is a really good basketball team with a very high ceiling. We saw it in January. When they get that version back healthy, this season will once again be fun. I'm very confident in saying that.